All right, thanks, everybody. So I don't have a PowerPoint like Professor Siegler did, so I hope you won't hold that against me. But I'm Carl Leonard. I'm from the Exoneration Project Clinic. We are a clinic that represents innocent people who were wrongfully convicted. They're in prison for something they didn't do, and we try to get them out. So I think you guys have probably already learned a lot about the importance of finality in our judicial system. We are fighting against that every single day. So by the time we're involved in a case, the person's been convicted beyond a reasonable doubt. They've been sent to prison. They appealed to the intermediate appellate court. They lost. They appealed to the Supreme Court. They lost. They probably did some stuff pro se on their own. They probably filed a federal habeas petition. They probably sought some state post-conviction remedies. They lost all of those. So by the time we're involved, a jury has passed on this, multiple judges have passed on this, and we're saying, all of you got it wrong. And so when we file a post-conviction petition too, we are assigned back to the original judge who originally sent our person to prison and found them guilty. So we're back in the same courtroom saying, Judge, you got it wrong. So there's a lot of practical obstacles to us. There's also a lot of legal obstacles to us. The law says we need to come forward with evidence that shows that our person would have had a different result if the court had this evidence, and that the evidence was not and could not have been discovered at the time of trial. It has to be new. And the burden's on us to prove those things. It's not like in normal criminal court where it's the state has to prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. We have to prove that this evidence would change the outcome. And like I said, the evidence has to be new. So we start with investigation. So we start by going out and talking to the witnesses, and this case might be 20 years old, so the witnesses have scattered. So we'll go visit witnesses in Arizona, or we've gone to a prison in Texas, or the south side of Chicago, or wherever these witnesses are, and talk to them again. The investigation might involve a lot of working with the experts, because we might want to say that the DNA science has changed. So we need experts to redo the DNA analysis. We might say, it's a fire and they said it was arson at the time, but fire science has changed. So we're with fire experts or pathology experts in shaken baby cases and things like that. So there's a lot of expert work and a lot of just on the ground investigation. Eventually we'll write a post-conviction petition to try to get back in court. The state then has the ability to file a motion to dismiss. So there's litigation about that, motion practice. And eventually, hopefully, we get to an evidentiary hearing, which is sort of our version of a trial. We're back in front of the same judge. We call witnesses, and we try to meet our burden of showing that the person's innocent, that the outcome would have been different. If we lose, we appeal, and we go to the appellate court and try to get relief that way. We might also do the compassionate release type work, clemency work with the governor to try to get people released that way. If we win, the remedy that we get is a new trial. So we switch from being the petitioner to now being the defendant, and we'll do that trial and represent people at the retrial. I think one of the things about us is that we are a real litigation clinic. We do trials, we do a lot of work in court, and it's something that I think sets us apart a little bit from other innocence organizations that you might have heard of, which do a lot of work where they try to convince the state to do the right thing. We do that too. But we don't only take DNA cases where it's a slam dunk if we win and the state will hopefully do the right thing. We fight it out in court. And because of that, oftentimes we end up working with other projects that come to us and say, hey, we're actually doing litigation. Can you guys help? So yesterday I was in Bloomington working with the Illinois Innocence Project that has a case that's in court, like live litigation. So we're helping with them. We did a murder case in Florida, Florida Innocence Project, won a guy a new trial, asked us if we would help. So we do a lot of real litigation, and students are involved in that at every step of the way, from intake, deciding, is this a case that we should take, through investigation, through working with us in court on appeal, doing all of those things. I think one other thing that I think is kind of neat about us and gives us an advantage is our structure. We're connected to a civil rights firm called Lovey & Lovey, which represents wrongfully convicted people in civil suits. And a while back, recognized that there was a need for more people doing the actual post-conviction work and created this clinic in about 2007 or 2008, which gives us a lot of practical resources. We're funded by Lovey & Lovey. They pay my paycheck. They also pay for any experts we need, for any travel we need, anything like that. And it also gives us really, I think, big benefits in terms of our ability to litigate, because we have access to a lot of information. We have access to, if I have a cop who I think did something in my case, has he done that in other cases? The people on the Lovey & Lovey side will know. Maybe they have a deposition of that guy coming up, and I can have him under oath answering questions about my case before we're even filing a post-conviction petition. So we get a lot of advantages that way too. Lauren is here to talk a little bit about the student work that she's gotten to do, which is, I was a student in the clinic back when it started, but I don't think my 2008 experience is as relevant as Lauren's experience now. So Lauren will talk a little bit about the stuff she's gotten to do in the clinic.
Hi, so I'm Lauren. I'm 3L. I've been in the Exoneration Project Clinic all of my 2L year and my 3L year, and I can't recommend it more highly. It's definitely been the most meaningful part of my law school experience to get to work on the cases of people who are serving sentences for crimes that they didn't commit. Before law school, I listened to Serial, watched Making a Murder, so it was something I was really excited about, and it's been really cool to actually be a student that gets to work on those kind of cases. So a number of things I've really enjoyed during my time in the clinic. One is intake. So all the students in the clinic get to look at letters that prisoners are sending to the clinic to ask for representation. And we get to sort through those and look for signs of wrongful conviction and possible paths to victory in post-conviction litigation. So in the past, people have gotten to read, I think there was an arson one last year that ended up being a client that the clinic has taken on. And you get to really do a deep dive into a case and see all of the things that went wrong. And every time I read one, I'm like, how did it get to this point where somebody's been convicted off of this? Besides that, I've also gotten to be involved in investigation, which Carl talked a bit about. This year, I got to go out with another student and an investigator and Carl and drive around and talk to witnesses, which was really cool. I didn't realize that would be a part of my law school experience. And then definitely the highlight of my time in the clinic and of my time in law school in general was I got to do in-court representation for one of our clients this year. So we have a client who's currently serving a life sentence for a murder that he didn't commit. He is simultaneously the victim of police torture, and he was beaten into falsely confessing to this crime. And on top of that, since he was convicted, somebody else has actually come forward and said, I was the one who did this. Witnesses have also recanted. There's a lot going on in this case, but another student and I got to appear in court on behalf of this client. This other student did the opening statement for our entire case, and I got to call a witness to the stand and do a direct examination, which was so cool because she was the person who the real perpetrator of this crime, told her back in 2012 that he was the one who did it. And this is all on recording. So we got to call this witness and play this recording of this guy saying that our client was innocent. And it was probably the coolest thing I will ever do in my life. But beyond that, another perk of being in the clinic is getting to meet the clients. So during the past 2 quarters working on this case, I've gotten to know one of our clients, and he's serving a sentence in a prison near St. Louis. So we've gotten to do a lot of phone calls with him while he's in prison. And we've also gotten to meet with him while he's here for his court dates and visit him in the jail. And you really get to know somebody's life, and it adds a lot of perspective to the work that you're doing. And hearing him talk about what happened in his case and how excited he is to hopefully get out. I mean, we're still hopefully in the future, the hearing's still being continued, but it really makes you excited to do the work and invested in the case and excited to do this kind of work going forward. So if you're looking for a really meaningful law school experience, and not only meaningful for you, but really meaningful to the lives of the clients too, because this is life or death for them. So it's been great. I'm so happy that I joined the EP clinic, and I'm happy to take any questions if people have any. Excellent.